Welcome to another episode of the Odd Hour Oddcast podcast. Today is the first episode in our new review series. The game we'll be reviewing today is Paper Mario: The Origami King. So let's get the Raving review started. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Mukhtar, and this is say hi.
Hello.
We're gonna argue about. No, we're not gonna argue. We're gonna discuss and review Paper Mario: The Origami King at length.
That's true. Yep. That's true. That's what we're gonna do.
I think we need to acknowledge the fact that we're just kind of starved for Nintendo content too. So
yeah.
I feel like we've tried to it's been a month and a half since the game came out, or at least a little over a month. So we've definitely given it time for to sit and think about the game.
Yeah.
But
it's been how long did it take you to beat it? When did you beat it?
It took me. I streamed it. I didn't want to play it off stream, so I streamed it, and it took me nine consecutive streaming sessions. So on an average of 2 hours per stream, that's 18 hours. Call it 20 hours, we'll say.
Okay, round up 20 hours. Yeah, I think that was about ended it end of July and stuff. I beat it. I got it on launch day, and then I beat it in 2 weeks. And then I beat it end of July. So yeah, kind of more or less the same. So and then we've kind of just been simmering over it for the past August is done, so it's been the past month.
Yeah, at least. And that's that's fine. We've given time to think about it, and it deserves the time to think about it,
Yeah. It was a lot to digest. I mean, it would, but maybe we should start with sort of the context of the game itself and our personal experiences with Paper Mario and how we felt going into this.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to start with your personal experience, go for it. I'll go after you.
So as those of you who follow the channel, Mukhtar and I are very big Paper Mario guys, and as you can see from our our 1000-Year Door playthrough that we're doing currently, like, comment, subscribe to watch more.
shameless promotion.
Yeah, word. So we really like Paper Mario. We grew up playing it, and we're really enjoying replaying 1000-Year Door, one of our favorite games ever, with each other. And then then Origami King got announced, and we were like, oh wow, okay. And Origami King sort of came at a very strange time because there's those of you who follow Paper Mario. Paper Mario hasn't had the best time recently. Between the 3DS Sticker Star game, which kind of a lot of people were upset about, and kind of stripped away what a lot of people really liked about Paper Mario, and kind of just simplified the game, and kind of just took a lot of the personality out of it and the story and the heart. And then it was followed up with Color Splash on the Wii U, which again, it was a little slightly better, but it was still didn't really have a lot of the heart and the combat that people really wanted. So yeah, so after Sticker Star, Color Splash came out, and it was slightly kind of better, coming up from Sticker Star, but not really, and is still kind of very simple and took a lot of the story and the heart out of the series. So then Origami King got announced, and it's just the games haven't been doing well for, I guess now you can say the majority of the franchise now, because this is 3 games. This is basically half the franchise now, because there's 6 games in total. So Paper Mario is very much not the same Paper Mario that a lot of us have fond memories of. So going into Origami King, it looked pretty cool on paper, pun intended. Hold on, bump. And but I was just very, very hesitant about it, because it seemed like they were taking some right steps forward back to the original, gameplay and stuff that we really liked. But it wasn't
not to cut you off really quick, but
yeah.
don't forget like the rumor that circulated for a little while in like the week, like right before Origami King came out. Don't forget, like
Right.
that's like really important to this, like what the hype for Origami King came from, at least for me. So go for it.
Yeah. Like there was like a rumor, which I guess has come true, kind of, in that there was like some Nintendo, like there were like other Nintendo games like hinted at and rumored. I don't know where it even started, but one of the games that was in there was like, oh yeah, there's a new Paper Mario game coming this year, and it was like a return to form, quote unquote. And of course, a lot of Paper Mario fans kind of latched onto it, and they were like, "Oh, finally, we're getting away from Sticker Star. We're getting away from, like the weird changes that they've been making, and we're going back to its roots." Because really, Paper Mario, we felt like never really needed to be changed.
Right.
From Thousand Year Door, we felt like Thousand Year Door really did like a great job, and it was just like everyone just kind of wanted a sequel to Thousand Year Door, and then you got Super Paper Mario, which was great. It was its own thing. But it wasn't Thousand Year Door, and then Sticker Star came out, and it was such a detachment from what the fan base kind of wanted. Even though, despite that, I think it's the highest selling game in the franchise. It's up there just because of it being on the 3DS.
Yeah, the 3DS and its mobility definitely lent itself a lot to that, because I mean, if you look at sales, you should be able to counter in how many people returned the game too. That's kind of like it's a thing that we don't really overlook as much, because like, yeah, you can look at like 20 million sales, but if 12 million people brought the game back, then really it's only 8 million people who actually kind of enjoyed it. It's a huge number that I feel like people don't like count as often.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's also like, everybody, I mean, it's like for every person who bought the game, there's like 10 people who didn't like the game, and that like that number and those nuances always get lost in the sales data, because it's just pure raw sales data.
Right.
Like, I mean, as much as I didn't like Sticker Star, I still have my copy somewhere. I didn't like sell it or anything,
Right.
But yeah, so we were going into Origami King, and we were very hesitant because we've felt like we've been burned in the past. I mean, my personal story with Sticker Star, and I think I've told Mukhtar about this. So 2012 was a very bad year for me, because that was the year Hurricane Sandy hit, and it like destroyed my neighborhood and my house. And then Paper Mario Sticker Star came out in my time of need, and I was like, it was like high school me. I was like, maybe this will be nice. Maybe a little comfort, in these dark times. And I was just so upset by it. It just made it worse. So we, Paper Mario is very much not what Paper Mario used to be. But in different instances, it kind of is. Like, it kind of, and that's what we're gonna kind of get into later on. Some of the aspects, like the humor and the writing and everything, and Paper Mario himself are still very much there. And through this, we'll sort of discuss what does it mean to be a Paper Mario game, what does it mean to be a good Paper Mario game, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so we went into this. We were hesitant. We were, worried that it was going to be more of the same of the past two games, and they weren't as good, and they weren't as, they didn't have as much heart. The combat would have been boring, this and that. And more previews came out, and then there were some things that it seemed like they were making some good steps forward, like, the partners were back, and it's like, okay, cool. And then they were like, well, the partners only show up, like, in their chapter, and I was like, okay. And then they were like, oh, the turn-based combat's back, and it's not as, it's not just like you use a sticker, use like a one-time item, and then you win. I was like, okay. And then it's like, oh, well, it's this new turning system where you turn the battlefield around, and I'm like, okay.
It's a puzzle-based fighting system.
Right, puzzle-based fighting system, yeah. So it seemed like, and then it seemed like every single time they were taking one step forward, there was like a weird monkey's paw thing with it. So we went into this very, very hesitant, and we came out of it differently. We came out of it looking at it a lot differently, and overall enjoying ourselves.
I think for me, like, well, okay, I grew up playing Paper Mario 64, but like there was a very significant amount of my early life where I just wasn't big brain enough to comprehend like a little complex games.
Right.
Like even games with like a little bit of complexity. So like Paper Mario 64 was just like a haha, Mario's thin. But then like when I got older, 2004 was when Thousand Year Door dropped, and I was like, this is phenomenal. I remember like very fondly playing Paper Mario 64 and like having fun with it, despite the fact that I didn't really get it. So Thousand Year Door dropped,
right?
And I was like, this is awesome. I was obsessed with that game, and I still love that game. Like it was like a good time for me, like growing up. So like the nostalgia factor was huge, and I don't know, like Thousand Year Door made me go back and play Paper Mario 64 and realize how like similar they were, but also how different they were, and how that's like a good thing. Like the Thousand Year Door felt like what Paper Mario 64 was leading up to, and it was a good progression. And then Super Paper Mario dropped, and that was like the first game I got on the Wii. Like I got the Wii, finally I got online at like the Nintendo store in Rockefeller Center. I got a Wii, and that was the game that I picked up, and it was awesome. And but it wasn't really like, I was okay with it because it was a fun game, but it didn't feel like Paper Mario. Like it was a Paper Mario character, but it didn't feel like what I expected Paper Mario. And that's the thing, right? Like expectations play like a big thing into it. So you go into Super Paper Mario watching a trailer, and you're like, this is what you expect from it. You expect it to be like Paper Mario 64, and you expect it to be like Thousand Year Door. And it's not, and it's like a lot of people are like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. But if you give it a shot, it's not like a bad game, right? Like, and that's keep that in mind as I say, like, I did not enjoy Sticker Star in the slightest, right? Like I really tried with Sticker Star. I found it, like I was hanging out with some friends, and I saw that it was like new in GameStop for $10, and the used copy was $20, and I was like, bet, I'll just pick it up. And I played it, and I really, really tried. And they got to a point where like I solved a puzzle, and I was standing in a doorway, and I kid you not, I fell through the floor, and I was like, so they didn't even finish this game. Great. And I just haven't. I swear to God, I haven't touched it since.
Oh,
so
no.
how are you supposed to justify something like that? Like if you, because I didn't do anything complex, right? I did what the game asked me to do, and my reward for that was not being able to. Like I lost a significant amount of progress, and that's so super disheartening. And mind you, this is like 2012, so I'm like, no, this was 2012. I picked it up in like 2015. I was in college, so I was like. I was like 19, 20 years old. I was like an established gamer. I had like, most of my brain functions at that point. And like, that's super disheartening, right?
Yeah.
So that turned me off from the series. And then Color Splash came out, and I was like, I don't really know about that.
We were together when it got announced, remember? Remember how upset we were?
Oh, yeah, because we were like, this just looks like more sticker stuff. I forgot that. We were in the library of our college watching the Nintendo Direct.
Watching the Direct, and then we saw Paper Mario, and we gasped, and then we saw, like, it looked like Sticker Star, and we were just so deflated.
Yeah. I'll be honest, though, I tried out Color Splash for a stream. I played it in one streaming session.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it was better than Sticker Star. It was better than Sticker Star, but they took it took too much inspiration from Sticker Star. It felt like what Paper Mario 64 did to Thousand Year Door, except in like a backward stepping direction.
Yeah, definitely. Like their priorities
were not like
their priorities are like vastly different from
different. And but
Color Splash is very much like, okay, well, we're not gonna go back to the old ways. We're just gonna literally build off of Sticker Star, which again wasn't really much. And I guess that's one of the things we're gonna be talking about. Is sort of the expectations of the Paper Mario series and the quote unquote like changes and innovation that they keep making and they keep feeling they have to make. Because a lot of there's been like recent interviews with the Paper Mario team, and they're like, yeah, we feel like we always need to like innovate every time and change things every time. And I'm always open to change. I don't want to feel like, oh, I want it this way, forever, blah blah blah. Again, I love Super Paper Mario. It's completely different from Thousand Year Door, but I really like it just because of what it is.
It was a good story. It was a good. The art style didn't really do any disservice. It was a well-made game. It's just it wasn't Thousand Year Door 2, and that's what lent it gave it a bad reputation.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's just like, Sticker Star comes out, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna literally take out like everything that you really enjoy about the previous games and just like make it like really bland, and and then Color Splash just builds off that, and then Origami King seems like it's building off of that, so it's just there's all these different expectations, and there's all these different like change in the series. So its complete identity is just kind of all out of sorts, where you have people who are like dying on the hill that I want Paper Mario this way, and then there's other people who are just like, well, like for example, I was in GameStop picking up like Origami King, and the cashier was like, oh, since when is Paper Mario like a turn-based game? And I'm like, it's always been that way. But it's just like in my head, I was like, oh my god, there's people who have like never known Paper Mario as it was in its original form. I'm like, that's crazy,
That's crazy, and it's important to remember that like Paper Mario was originally supposed to be Super Mario RPG 2, which a lot of people don't like remember, because that game is like, I feel like not as many people know about Super Mario RPG as they should, because like the fact that Mario has like an RPG series within Paper Mario, or is supposed to have an RPG series in Paper Mario, stems from that game, that super like low-key kind of obscure game that was like the birth child of Square and Nintendo, like what, in 96, right? 95 that game came out, 96. Like ignoring, like people not knowing that kills me, because it's so important to the fact that like people love Paper Mario. Paper Mario is fun, but the fact that like people's first entry into the series is Sticker Star is kind of sad.
I mean, Nintendo makes it very hard for people to remember Super Mario RPG. They try really hard to get people to not remember it. But yeah, no, I feel like it's a really important piece of it, and also because over the years, one of the big things is like, so Paper Mario started off as a sequel to Mario RPG, Mario the RPG game. And every time they make one of these new Paper Mario games, it feels like they're getting further and further away from the RPG roots. Like they took, like for example, in the past 3 games, there's no experience points or like any sort of progression.
Right.
And in Sticker Star and Color Splash, there were just like they're like items that you use like once, and then you can basically just like win the battle, and like that's it. Like they're like disposable items, and you just have to collect them. So there's no real challenge, there's no real like reward for going into like random battles and stuff like that. It's just like you're just going through the motions, you're just going through the battles,
Right.
And you're just going through the story.
I think what Nintendo did, like unintentionally, when they like let Intelligent Systems or whoever developed the games, they were like, they focused too much on the action adventure instead of the RPG, right? Because that's what it was originally. It was an action adventure RPG, and then they were like, yeah, well, people seem to like the action and the adventure more. Right. Because, like RPG elements don't matter. But it's like, no, like we already have action RPG. We already have action adventure Mario games. That's just every Mario game. Like platformer action adventures, yeah.
Yeah. If I want to play regular Mario games, I'll just play Mario.
It's like, oh, the gimmick is no, Mario's paper thin now, and so is the rest of the world. Haha.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's great. That was one of the things we loved about it. The other thing was just like, just the combat system and the natural like progression of your character. But the other thing is that they've also, the producers of Paper Mario have also gone on record being like, well, we changed. It started a lot with Sticker Star because they were like, well, it started with Sticker Star because we wanted to move further away from RPG elements because they already had the Mario and Luigi series, which was also an RPG series, which is basically dead now because the company that makes them filed for bankruptcy, unfortunately. So, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna keep making that excuse, but it's also just an overall sort of tonal shift with the Mario franchise, because Mario has very much become like more and more like uniform and like not, I wouldn't say boring, but like very sterile, and Mario doesn't really make any like big risks anymore, make any like weird things. So like that kind of like, for example, like the new Super Mario Bros. Games are very like straightforward. They're very like safe. They don't have any like weird designs or anything, or like weird original characters. And a lot of that like bled into the cross like the spin-off games like Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi.
Right.
So like Paper Mario 1000 Year Door is like really weird. They have all these like one-off like character races that like are never used again. They have like crazy variant characters that are your partners, and now Paper Mario is just as plain as like a new Super Mario Bros. Game. So again, there's just been a lot of changes over the years leading up to Origami King, and that have kind of turned a lot of people off to it. But now we can sort of like say that we're very happy to say, like, despite all those changes, we did very much enjoy it, and accepted it for what it was.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge, like, we enjoyed the Origami King, right? Like, I think we can agree that like the Origami King was a surprisingly good game.
Yeah. Yeah, so we enjoyed it a lot. Excuse me.
Let's talk about, let's gush a little bit. What's your favorite part of Origami King?
Yeah, so Origami King, I went into it with a lot of hesitation, but despite how it uses like a lot of just like regular bare bones just Mario designs. Like there's like 50,000 toads, there's all the enemies are like just origami versions of themselves. Like there's a few new characters that are just completely new, but most of it is just regular Mario stuff. But what I really love about it is how much like heart it has. Because despite it being just another one of these, like Sticker Star, Color Splash, Paper Mario games, it's got a lot of heart to it in pretty much everything that it does, from like the writing and the jokes and the design. I mean, that's like, you asked me for one thing and I kind of just described everything.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're allowed to say that, because I mean, really, it does a disservice to the game to take just one part and be like, this is what I enjoyed the most. But realistically, that's a lot of what happens. There's like, okay, there's a favorite part of your game and there's a least favorite part of your game. But if you enjoy the entire game and you want to talk about the entire game when someone asks what's your favorite part, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, because again, like all of these pieces combined and all of like there's just like little flourishes in the game that really showed me how much like the developers cared about making this game, and they put so much care and attention to detail into making this game fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, I think
so. Like,
oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say my favorite part of it is just it's really well written. I think the writers for this game really hit like the humor chord, they hit like the story chord, they hit like the character development chord. I think it's, oh my god, I just think it's a really well written game. I really don't know how else to describe it. It's just I enjoyed, like, it made me want to talk to every NPC just to see what anyone would say.
Yeah, Nintendo's localization team had like a great time just translating all these jokes, and like I agree, like every single person in the game I wanted to just talk to and like hear what like random piece of dialogue they have. And that really added to like the moment to moment just like fun of the game,
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like every single area that you went to, there was always like something that I wanted to interact with, someone I wanted to talk to, or something I wanted to like find. And they really made that like great. Like one of the things that I really like, for example, is like one of Nintendo's other weird rules for the Mario franchise. As most giant IPs kind of do, like, with Star Wars and in your Disneys and your Mickey Mouse and stuff, they have these very extensive rules and style guides, so that everything sort of stays on brand and on message as like the companies send out their IP to be used for various things. Like, for example, Mario there's like tons of Mario toys, there's Mario backpacks, there's Mario, there's going to be a big Mario movie made by Illumination coming out, and then you have the big Mario theme park in Japan, the Nintendo theme park in Japan. So to make things less confusing for the licensors, they're just like, okay, don't make any variations of an already existing enemy or a character. So like in the previous Paper Mario games, all of your partners were like, oh, this is like Koops, he's a Koopa, but he's wearing a sweater and he's got like a bandage on his face, and it's like, oh, Goombella, she's like a Goomba, but she's a student, So just to like not to confuse licensors who are like working on this stuff, they're like, okay, you can't do that anymore, because like, I mean, you could also just be like try to explain it to them, but that's just an extra step that they don't want to take, which I get. So one of the big jokes of Origami King and Sticker Star is that all of the toads look the same. Like, they're all the same toad. I mean, they're not all the same person.
They're not all the same person, but does Sticker Star and Color Splash make fun of the fact that everyone's toads?
They kind of do.
See, I never played the games intensively to actually know that. I just know that they were both a big mechanic, and that became a meme.
Right. That was the thing. So, like, they kind of did, but then, like, in Origami King, they were like, okay, let's make that, like, a game mechanic. And one of the big things, like, it's kind of like a collectathon where you're constantly trying to find toads that are, like, hidden in the areas, and once you save them, they give you, like, they give you a cute little piece of dialogue, and then also, the more toads you have, the better you do in battles, and then the more toads you find, the more they get to restore the Toad Town in the game. So, like, they really, like, they took a lot of criticism from the game, and they were like, all right, you guys don't like toads, let's make that like a gameplay mechanic, and then also there's like a plot point about how many toads there are and how much this one person doesn't like toads. So yeah, so there's just stuff like that where I feel like they are listening and they are sort of learning and adapting to all their different feedback. But yeah, so
I think I really enjoy when game companies like, oh, you don't like this thing? Well, guess what? Now it's an even more important thing.
Yeah.
Like, they acknowledge the fan base doesn't like it, but they're like, hey, let's see if we can improve on it while pointing out the fact that you didn't like this.
Right. Yeah, it was like a really good joke, and then they made it like a part of like the minute-to-minute gameplay. Yeah, so I thought it was really funny. Because again, before it was like, oh, I hate all these toads, but now they're like, oh, I can't wait to find like all these toads. So
I think like the toad mechanic definitely helped with like the exploration features of the game, because it was like, right. I mean, it rewards you for it because you get more toads that can help you do things in battles, and it like sometimes a toad will give you like these toads will give you coins, toads will give you like a heart to boost your max health. There was like a reason to get the toads, which is kind of a big deal, right? Like before it was like, oh yeah, you just need to save the toads because they're like in trouble, but it's like, well, I don't really want to, and I don't know if the game rewards you or if it's like a necessary thing to save all the toads in the game, but like in this one it's like you want to, because it's like it's a puzzle. A lot of the time the toads are puzzles, like it's like, okay, there's you need to look around and find it for yourself, and that's like an instant reward factor, but it's like a constant thing. Everywhere you go, it's like... Yeah, say it again?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, and the toads are, like, so charming, and you just want to hear what they have to say, Like,
exactly.
Each one has their own little, like, joke or quip or something, and it really adds to, like... Because, again, they want to move further and further away from, like, the RPG, like, in-battle elements of the game. So they've been emphasizing like the exploration, and this really, really like helps with that, because you're constantly like on the lookout for toads and constantly like excited to see what you can find,
Mm-hmm. And that's important, right? Like that was a huge thing in like Paper Mario 64. Is like, okay, I need to find badges, and in Thousand Year Door you need to like get lucky and hope that you can find a badge that helps like with earthquakes and stuff like that. There was a reason for everything.
Right. And that was what was really missing with like Sticker Star and Color Splash, where it's just like they had these systems in the game and none of them really connected to each other, and like battles didn't really feel like they mattered, and like finding toads and all this stuff and getting more stickers and stuff didn't really feel like it mattered. But in Origami King, all of this stuff has been given more purpose and more agency, so you as the player feel more inclined to do all these things.
Right. And yeah, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there for a second.
Okay.
God, oh my god. I have nothing.
It's okay.
What oh my god, I don't even know. I can't tell you what we're even talking about just now.
You want to talk about the combat now?
We can definitely talk about the combat. Listen, how did you feel about the combat? Let's start there. I'll let you go first, and then I'll go into how I feel about it, because I feel like I'm going to be super extensive about it.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so I felt, so like I said before about things not really having agency and a reason to, do them in the previous games. So, like, again, I was worried about, how the combat would work and how the combat not only would make you feel if you were doing it, but also what your reward would be. And I was worried when there were reports coming out that saying like there's no experience points in the game, so everyone was like, oh, there's no reason to battle, you're just gonna have to run away and avoid them like you did in like Color Splash and stuff. But I'm happy to say like the combat is a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Despite it not being like traditional like regular turn-based Paper Mario games, the way that it works is that you're on this, Mario's in the middle of like these circles, and your enemies are like lined up in certain ways, and you have to use like X amount of moves to line up your enemies to do like massive damage. And the whole point of the game, so like every single battle you go into is basically like basically like a puzzle, and it really pushes you to solve these puzzles, or whatever enemy you don't end up killing in one hit or like in one turn, they're gonna do like massive damage to you. So back in like Sticker Star and Color Splash, it was literally just take these cards, take these stickers, do this one move, boom, you're done. Like, it was so boring, but this was like, it really adds a lot of like an extra layer of depth to it, an extra layer of fun to it. And what is it, after you beat the battles, you get coins which you can use to buy more weapons to do more battles, because it's kind of like a Breath of the Wild system where your weapons are constantly breaking, so you have to keep buying new ones, but it never feels like annoying. And also there's like a lot of collectibles that are like you have to pay for, but they're like super expensive. So the coins always feel like they're necessary, and you're never like upset that you got more coins. Also, which is one of the most important things about coins, is that if you ever feel stuck on a puzzle like I did, because I have such a small like chimp brain, so again, going back into the whole it's all connected, all these systems are connected thing. So the more toads you save, the more toads sit in the audience for the battles, and you can pay those toads to help you in battle. So if you don't want to solve a puzzle, you can just pay them like 500 bazillion coins, and they'll solve the whole thing for you. And that's great. That's like a really great like thing for like people who just aren't great at puzzles, or maybe you want a hint, or maybe it's too tough for you. Or you can also use the coins to extend the timer, because when you're trying to solve the puzzles, you're on a timer, so there's kind of like even an extra layer of stress to it. And I ended up, especially in the boss battles, I ended up spending so much money just to like solve these puzzles in like one go. And I would go into some battles and I would spend like thousands upon thousands just like trying to get more time. So I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. Again, it all fed into each other, which is how good games should be, and I always felt rewarded. So yeah, that's me.
For me, I thoroughly enjoyed the battle mechanic. I thought it was a really clever way to incorporate puzzles into the game, because like puzzles are in everything, so it's like, okay, puzzles also play into the battle system, so you need to solve this puzzle. My issue is, this isn't really an issue, it's just something I feel like pointing out. In regular battles, there is usually one solution. Sometimes there are two, like an easier solution, but generally, I feel like I can be safe and say that generally there is one solution that the game wants you to find.
Right.
And in the contrast with boss battles, so in the regular battles, Mario's in the center, right? Which is like, Mario has to move the people around him. But in the boss battles, the boss is in the center, and you, as the player, need to finesse your way to, like, there is no one solution. There's what you should do in a boss battle, but no one said that you have to do it that way. Usually there are, like, solutions that you need to do to finish off a boss fight, because some boss fights have unique mechanics where they regain health or whatever. But, like, the contrast of the freedom you have with a boss fight, like this big bad that you've been building up to the entire chapter, versus just, like, a little Goomba that you happen to find who happens to bump into you when you're frolicking through the greens. Like, the difference between those two fights is so important, because it's just that level of intensity is really important as a player to be like, okay, I really need to buckle down and focus. Because you can still use toads for, like, help if you wanted to. Toads will always be a thing, and the importance of toads and coins will always be there throughout the entire game, and, like, the emphasis on them. Coins are really, like, the propelling function in this game. They're everywhere. Like, coins never take a back seat. Coins are always, like, ridiculously important.
Yeah, and it never feels like you have too many or too few. Like, they really figured out the economy of it very well. Like, I never felt like I had too many coins, and, like, sometimes if I felt like I spent too much, I'm like, oh man, I, like, genuinely want to do battles to get more coins, So it never felt like a burden, and it never felt like, oh, I have to, like, grind for coins or grind or whatever. So,
which is important, right? Like, that abundance of coins is, like, what you need, because let's not forget there are also shops in the game where you need, like, there are collectibles that you can buy, there are more weapons that you can buy, like what you mentioned earlier. So, like, people were worried that you don't, like, you can just avoid battles like you did in Color Splash or whatever, but in this, you kind of want to, because realistically, you can never have enough coins in this game.
Right, and like we said before, you don't feel obligated to, like, avoid battles, because A, not only do you feel rewarded for them now, but B, they're fun. They're just fundamentally fun. And like Mukhtar was saying about the boss battles, they're really the highlights of the game for me. And there's so many of them. There's, like, what, like 8 of them?
I think there's more. There's all the
there's way more. There's the Legion of Stationary, and then there's the Vellementals, and then there's, like, the final bosses and stuff. But there's, like, a decent amount of bosses that use, like, this unique battle system, and it's just a lot of fun because there's so many different ways you can approach things. Like, for example, there was one of, like, the end game bosses where you're really, like, there's really, like, one way you have to win this, because so, like, the boss basically, like, restrains himself, because he was like, okay, I can kill you in, like, one shot, but I'll restrain myself for you, and you can break his restraints at one point. And I did it, like, the first turn, and I didn't realize that's what you weren't supposed to do. So when you break the restraints, he just does his one-shot attack on you every single turn, and you have to jump at the exact right moment, or you'll just die. So what happened for me is that I didn't realize that I did the wrong thing, and I just kept dodging the attack every single time, and I didn't die, and I beat him. And then I found out later, and I was like, I really wasn't supposed to do that. But the game still let me do it anyway.
Exactly. So that variety is, like, so important to you as a player, because, like, I didn't have that experience. Like, the fact that we can have the same boss fight and play the same game but have vastly different experiences is, like, fun, Like, it's not like The variety is playing through it and not having to go through the exact same things as anybody else. And that's like what I feel like Color Splash did is, or Sticker Star did, is you had to do things a very specific way. It was very limiting in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with Sticker Star and Color Splash, it was very linear because there were like these thing cards and these thing stickers where it was just like, use this one item, literally that's how you beat the boss. Like that was it. Like that was the only problem. And if you didn't have that card, then you can't beat the boss. And it was like, you know, there's no fun in that. There's no thinking, there's no figuring it out. And Origami King really, like I kept saying, it really added this much needed like moment to moment, I need to think, like, you know, gameplay for the players. So yeah, so battle system very good. I will agree with Muhtar in that the game also, like in the regular battles, does have only like one solution for you. But I also, to add on to that, I feel like, and this is kind of something that the developers have addressed, where I feel like there's no real way to expand on this battle system in the next game. Like, there's very much only, like, once you play the game long enough, you realize that there's only like X amount of puzzles that they've actually made. And I feel
that's
like,
a good point.
Yeah, and I feel like at the end of the game, you've seen all of them, and you can't really, like, once you've solved one variation of it, you can pretty much, like, once you see it, you're like, okay, no more thinking, it's just boom, 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 this is what I gotta do. But that doesn't happen very often. It only happened to me when I beat the game, and that was because I did the entire game, and the fact that it didn't feel that way until the very end, I felt was good. But it's also like, I don't feel like I want them to bring this back for this next game, you know, and they also don't feel like they feel like they always want to, like, quote unquote innovate with the battle system each time, which, you know, if it's as good as this battle system, great. And, you know,
realistically it won't be based on previous trends, but my hope is that they'll look at this and be like, you know what, we'll like make this like what Sticker Star did with Color Splash, right? Like, that would be great, you know?
Right. And it's like, if they can get that fundamental, think of those fundamental systems and just fun factor of letting the player think, and B, making them feel rewarded for doing these battles, then I think whatever they come up with, you know, will work.
And should work.
Am I worried? Yeah, of course. But do I have to worry about that? Probably not for another few years.
Yeah, no, maybe one more Paper Mario game on Switch, because I feel like the Switch's lifespan is going to be ridiculously long, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I hope the Switch lasts for a while. It has a lot of potential. I don't even think I want them to make anything else besides a Switch. Like,
you think just the Switch for the future of Nintendo for the rest of their lives?
Definitely not, because,
I mean, come on, Nintendo VR, think about it.
No, I know, yeah, exactly. Like, Nintendo always, like, innovates, and that's when they do their best, like, with the DS, the Wii, you know, the Switch. So they're definitely not going to make, like, a Switch 2. But it'd be nice, because it's just like, you know, you get the handheld, I was gonna say desktop, TV mode. You know, if they just made, like, more powerful Switches, I wouldn't complain. But knowing them, they're gonna want to innovate. Even though there are, like, rumblings of, like, a Switch Pro, like, coming out at some point, and, like, or like a new Switch, like, better Switch model coming out.
Right.
But yeah, I think the Switch has a very long life cycle, and I could see them doing another Paper Mario, just based on how well Origami King sold. Because it sold like crazy, as most games are selling like crazy now in quarantine.
Yeah, well, because, you know, the pandemic is still ongoing, and it's probably going to get worse because we're about to hit, you know, winter, like the colder months.
Yep.
And that's usually when things pick up.
And back to school season, so better get your Paper Mario games. Better stay home and play Paper Mario.
Can we please shout out Bobby the Bob-omb real quick?
Yeah. Let's go to the next part, which is, I have like this whole section on partners, and specifically Bobby.
Which is really just 30 seconds of silence for Bobby in his honor.
Yeah, word.
No, God, what were you going to say?
Yeah. So just going back to the battle system. So I felt like it didn't overstay its welcome, and I feel like the game was just long enough for it to be fun, but without it like getting too old. So that was the last thing. But yeah, so with the partners, Bobby's great. The others are okay. But I'm happy that partners are back at all in some capacity.
In any capacity, yeah, is still like a good thing. Which is like, the rumor saying that it's taking from like older. The rumor said that like there's a Paper Mario coming out and it's going to be taking from older. What do you call it? I was like, that's fucking awesome. Please do that. Please God do that.
Right.
So partners coming back in any capacity is huge, right? And I'll be honest, I really didn't mind the way that they handled partners in this game. I do miss Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door partners. And even to an extent, Super Paper Mario partners, like I feel like that's something kind of like understated that we didn't really talk about. Like Super Paper Mario had a decent amount of partners, but like, these were not that bad.
No, and you know what it was? I think what I really liked the most and what I missed the most, not just like partners, but just that constant like companionship and someone like kind of commenting and like bouncing off of Mario.
Right.
I feel like before you even talk about the partners, you got to talk about how much I love like Olivia as like
Olivia's a great character.
What's that?
Olivia's a great character.
No, she's great. Yeah, so Olivia's like the sis. Yeah, Alexa loves her. So Olivia is the sister of the Origami King, who's the main villain, and she travels with Mario to like stop him and everything. And she's just got like such a great personality and a great character arc, and it's really great just like traveling the world with her and like her commenting on everything and like talking to everyone. And I feel like the fact that it took me like a split second to remember their names. So Sticker Star had Kirsty, and Color Splash had Huey, and they were okay, and they were like your obligatory like constant companion, but they just really didn't really do it, because again, Mario is silent. Mario will like emote and whatnot, but he won't like say anything, and they really didn't do that much. But I feel like Olivia, they gave her a lot of emotional agency, and they gave her like a great personality. So, and that's what I felt like was missing when we took out partners. Like, as much as I love the partner designs and stuff and their own personalities, just the fact that there's someone there with you, like experiencing the world with you, is such a huge part of what we like about Paper Mario. And the fact that they listened and actually brought them back is great. So this game has 1, 2, 3, technically 4 partners.
Wait, who's technically 4? Yeah, I forgot about the end.
Yeah, so I'm going. So it's Bobby, the Bomb, Professor Toad. Oh, excuse me. Captain Toad, and
Captain Toad. Captain Toad wasn't really a partner.
Well, I mean, I kind of counted him because he's like driving the boat in that section.
Okay, but then what do you call it? The Toad who runs the river rapids is also a partner in that regard.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, like, I counted Captain Toad because you really didn't have anybody in that chapter, but like Captain Toad was like constantly present driving the boat.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, I guess that tracks, but I don't know if I consider it myself, but you go for it.
Yeah, because it was just weird, because it was just like, it felt like that chapter didn't really have like a partner. But yeah, so you have Captain Toad, and then you have Kamek and Bowser Jr., and then you have Bowser at the end. Spoilers. And again, they weren't all that like interesting design-wise. Like Bobby's just a bomb. Captain Toad is just a sea Captain Toad. Professor Toad's just a Toad in like archaeology gear. And then you have Kamek and Bowser Jr. and Bowser, who are just regular characters.
Yeah, established characters.
Yeah, so it's like they don't have crazy designs or anything like the previous games did, but they all have their own great personality and their
Right.
own like character arcs and stuff. And again, it's just a testament to how well written the game is that the writers really made you care so much about them. You know, Bobby has this whole thing where he has amnesia, and he's also like exploring the world with you and everything, and he's just like really endearing to you. Professor Toad is like, he always like geeks out about, like, he's like trying to find like this ancient Toad civilization. He's always like geeking out about like different like things you discover.
Right.
And he's always like saying some like weird like PhD thing or like smart thing that you just don't understand. Captain Toad is like this mysterious like sea fairy captain. Who just,
Oh,
like,
also, did you forget that Captain Toad is fucking ancient?
Yeah, Captain Toad is like an ancient, like 1,000-year-old toad, which is like crazy.
He's just been frozen in ice, and you thaw him out, and he's like, all right, let's go sail my ship. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, well, fine.
Right, yeah, there's like this giant like story throughout the game about like ancient toad civilization. He's like one of them, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, it was just, again, like a little like extra like touch and a little extra attention to detail that like the writers bring to it. So yeah, so then Captain Toad, he was cool. He like drives the boat, and then like Kamek and Bowser Jr. are great because Kamek is like very much like the yes man of like Bowser's like empire, and he's very much like the overworked, underpaid, underappreciated like secretary that has to like babysit Bowser Jr. all the time. So like, yeah, they all have like a great personality, and really like just listening to them talk and like seeing them like go through all the stuff that you do is a lot of fun. Again, I mean, and then with the battle system, they don't really do much for you. Like, they're not as integral as previous games. Like, for like with the puzzle system in this game, it's very much finish the puzzle, beat your enemies in one turn, or you're gonna do damage. So for that, they're kind of like a backup where it's like, okay, if you don't kill everybody, they'll kill a bunch of enemies for you.
Who will kill enemies for you? The partner?
The partners, yeah.
What do you mean? The partner doesn't. The partner hardly does anything if you don't hurt anybody.
Well, no, I mean, like, Captain Toad like wipes out like 4 enemies at a time. Everybody except for Bobby wipes out like 4 enemies if you don't kill them.
Are you serious?
Yeah, wait, did you just not like fail?
No, I mean, I did pretty good, but every time I tried to use it, and like, if I let any of the other partners do anything, more often than not, they would do almost nothing. Maybe, should I have failed puzzles? Did I miss an entire section of the game? I know that, like, Bowser towards the end of the game can absolutely destroy people. That I know. But
like Kamek and Professor Toad, they do like a ton of damage.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
Yeah, Bobby doesn't do much. He only hits like one person, but like Professor Toad and Kamek will do like tons of damage.
Damn.
Now you know.
Now I know.
It's because you're so smart. It's because you're so smart. You didn't need.
Well, no, this is what I was gonna get into in the battle thing. Towards like as the game progressed, I was just kind of like, I don't really feel like I want to solve puzzles anymore. I just kind of want to beat the game, and I just started throwing money at Toads to solve puzzles for me, which honestly worked out. It was great. It helped because I was. Like, again, like, the money's there, you have the money for it, you might as well. Why, if you don't want to solve a puzzle, you don't have to solve a puzzle. Having that freedom to do so is fine. I didn't need that reward system.
And that fatigue didn't really hit until, like, the end of the game. So...
Yeah, no, like, just because you're like, okay, I've like what you said. I've seen all these puzzles, I don't really feel like I have this, there's something I need to do to get, like, I don't, like, feel any more of a reward from these puzzles anymore because I've solved a ton of them already. So I don't really feel like I need to solve a ton of them again.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I feel no. I feel that. Yeah, there's no like satisfaction because there's just like, okay, I'm just doing it like by instinct now, So yeah, I definitely feel that. And then just the option to just like pay the Toads to solve it for you, and you have all this money is like great.
It's a great alternative to actually solving the puzzles. Because you know what? The thing about puzzle games, right? Like, even the most, like, die-hard puzzle game fans will be like, I'm kind of tired of solving puzzles right now. That's just you. As a person, you will be like, I don't really feel like solving these ridiculously complex puzzles anymore. I don't feel like I need to. And realistically, you don't. The game gives you the option not to. You do lose something important, which is, the currency, but still.
Right, they're like, oh, are you tired? You don't want to do it? Well, here you go. We gave you enough money to pay to beat the game.
Right, exactly. What were we talking about before I went back to the battle system?
Partners.
Partners, yes. I didn't know that partners had, like, a bigger role. Well, the thing is, you can't even control the partners either, right? Which is a big thing.
Yeah, it's, like, automatic.
And what is the... Like, that's not a bad thing, right? You don't need to control the partners, because I didn't realize this about Paper Mario 64, but, like, after playing, what do you call it? 1,000 Year Door. Partners in Paper Mario 64 did not have health.
Yeah. They just, like, they could be stunned, or they could, like, be hit, but they don't have any, like, health system or whatever. Which
like, realizing that, I was like, that is crazy that I never noticed that playing it when I was younger. And how big of a difference that makes. Like, that in itself is a layer of difficulty. Like, maintaining your partner's health on top of yours as Mario.
Right.
And, yeah. Just...
yeah.
I think the puzzles in this game are good. I think the partners... Okay. If you took away partners in this game, you really wouldn't lose all that much. But you would lose a story element. So that lends itself to the story, right? Because you can, you can give Mario a paper function to dig in the desert and get rid of Professor Toad, right? That can, like, happen.
Right.
And there really wouldn't be an issue for it. Having Mario have all these abilities wouldn't be a problem. But the thing is, they wanted you to feel attachment to these characters, and that's why the partners are important. And that's, like, a big deal. That, like, they recognize the fact that the partners have, like, a huge story function and make them, like, integral to the story in that regard. Like, Bobby is such a good character and does such a good job of, like, making you feel something for the character, making you feel something for the game, and like the world you're exploring. And Olivia too. Like, Olivia starts off. I know Olivia's not really like a partner as much as, like, really what they do with Olivia. Yeah, they took, like, a bunch of previous things that, like, Boombella's tattle ability. They did that with Olivia too. They did a lot with Olivia, and, like, Olivia being, like, super naive and innocent towards the beginning of the game, and how Olivia evolves as a character to the point where she knows that she has to, like, basically has to kill her brother, is kind of a big deal. What do you mean spoilers? The game is out. Of course it's going to be a spoiler review, whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, if you haven't played the game by now and you're looking for a review, actually, I didn't even say that might not even be the truth. She realized that she has to doesn't mean that she does. Right? You don't know how this story goes. You can still leave it vague. You can just say...
Joke's on you guys. We didn't even play the game. We don't even know.
Exactly.
All this stuff.
Like, partners... Just the fact that there are partners in any capacity is a big step forward. I know that they won't go back to old Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door, but, like, the fact that they took something from those earlier games and made it into something fun for this game that, like, actually works, like, gets a lot of brownie points from me, you know?
We kept saying, you know, yeah, they don't have the same function as they used to from, like, in battle the same way that older partners used to. That's fine. This is a brand new game. This is a completely different thing. And they still have the function of being great, like, travel companions outside of combat. And that's what they've been kind of focusing on a lot of outside of combat, like with the Toads and with everything else. Like, you know, again, like you said, yeah, you could give Mario all these abilities, but, like, that just would be really boring because you could just make a really fun character to interact with and they'll do it for you.
Exactly.
So, and they really dug at the heart of that's what partners meant to us, you know, all those years ago. You know, they weren't just, oh, they do cool attacks, which is great, but they also have their own personalities, their own agency, and they help you contextualize the world that Mario is exploring and the adventure that you're going on. So I think they did it really well. Again, it's not a full return to 1,000 Year Door, but I think just overall in this review, like we've been saying, you kind of just have to accept that we may never go back, and that's okay, because this is completely, like, this is its own thing now. This is sort of the direction where they want to go. You can get as upset as you want about Paper Mario, about a video game, but at the end of the day, this is what they're gonna make, and what they made is great. It's Super Paper Mario again. It's not what we originally wanted before, but it's its own thing, and it does its own thing really well.
And that's okay. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change things up. The problem is when you change things so drastically, like a core aspect of the battle system gets ridiculously changed, and they're like, well, why don't people like it? It's because you took something that was fine and you broke it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. And that's a lot
Right. And it's not like that they changed it so much, but they changed it so much to something that had no purpose, really, and had no, felt hollow. But with Origami King, again, I feel like they really just dug deep and rediscovered the heart of the series and gave every little system, whether it be inside or outside of battle, a really great heart to it, and a really great feeling of agency and accomplishment.
Right, and I think, look at it like this, right? It's what they did with the battle system was they looked at people who figured out how to kill enemies in one turn in Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door, and they're like, okay, let's turn that into the entire battle mechanic. But the fun of finding out how to beat an enemy in one turn in the old games was the fact if you mess up, you won't get immediately destroyed, right? You won't lose a billion points of health, which you kind of do in this game, right? As I'm playing right now, as we discuss, I got into a couple fights and I lost 60 health. In the older games, if you lost 60 health, you died.
Yeah, no, especially when you get later on in the game and there's 50 enemies around.
Exactly.
And if there's 4 or 5 of them around, they do so much damage, and that's that adds the strategy to it. Without it being just strictly RPG numbers.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
what else?
But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to address sort of about the whole killing things in one shot. You ended up doing that a lot in Paper Mario anyway. You kind of just figured out how to kill certain enemies, you figured out their health, and then you'd go into these battles and just kind of do it over and over. The problem with RPGs at times is that you kind of have to grind, and you have to get enough experience points. I felt like Paper Mario never really had that, because the game just naturally gave you enough experience points and stuff.
Right.
But with Origami King, again, you get the coins and everything, which is great. But also, after a while, you get these hearts, which increase your health, and those, again, are rewarded to you by exploring. And every time you get a heart, you get a little bit stronger, to the point where if an enemy is weak enough, you can just kill it on the overworld, where you don't even have to go into battle. And so that takes a lot of the tedium out of battles too, where it's you can choose to fight that thing if you want, or you can just kill it straight out, And there's no consequences to you not fighting that thing either. It's not like you have to get X amount of experience points either.
Exactly. The experience comes from you going out and solving things in the game, right? You will find there's a can of tuna and there's a can of a heart in the game that you can go out and get you have to go to another character to have them open the can, and you get a little bonus of 5 health from that, and that's cool. That is where your experience comes from. That's the leveling up thing, and it's not that good, right, in comparison to the old ways, but it's still something. And that
for that one specifically, it helps make you pay attention to the world around you and the characters that you interact with, because of how well designed they are and how interesting they are. Because with that moment, because when you find that can, it's completely far, not in the same area where the can opener guy is.
Oh, no,
so I found that, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember the can opener guy because it was so memorable. So I went over to the can opener guy in a world away, and I was like, here you go. And then I figured it out, and the game rewarded me for that.
Exactly, which is a huge deal.
Yeah, and it's and that was a sort of character progression.
That's the closest thing to an experience system in this game, if we're being honest. The battle doesn't give you the experience as much as exploration does.
Yeah, exploration, and I will say coins also help a lot, because there's a lot of accessories you can buy to equip and make yourself stronger. So again, you can argue that like getting coins from battles helps you level up because you spend that money to grow yourself.
That's true. You can argue that, but like, there's also like the fact that this is like a core stat that can't be changed. You can unequip a weapon, but you can't unequip your health bar.
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, yeah, you can't unequip the health bar or anything. So it's not the same sort of progression from before, but it doesn't make you, and it's not as deep of a progression system even as like, because even like regular Paper Mario, like Thousand Year Door and first game, really aren't that extensive, like RPG wise, but they were a little more complex in terms of like what you want to level up, what sort of equipment you want. So Origami King doesn't have that, but at least it's something, because Sticker Star and Color Splash didn't even have, like, they were like, okay, your health goes up and like that's it, and like you got more paint or whatever, and it was like it really didn't feel meaningful. So
it really didn't have any meaning. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It just didn't give you like a reason to do things.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you got more health, but then like enemies hit harder, so it's like, okay, doesn't really feel like I earned it either. Like, you just get it,
Yeah.
But with Origami King, like, there's still so many, like, even like when I was playing it, there's still like so many like hearts I didn't find, and it's just because there's just so much out there, like in the world for you to explore. So yeah, so it's just, again, a lot of it just boils down to giving gameplay mechanics meaning, and giving meaning to the players to just get out there and enjoy the world and play through the world. So,
which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Yeah. If I haven't been good enough. So. But yeah. So
what else?
I think we pretty much covered it.
Well, okay. The music. How good is the music in this game?
Oh, very good. And I will say, the music for Color Splash I liked a lot. Sometimes I just listen to it. But Origami King is fantastic because they got the composer from Thousand Year Door. His name is Yoshito Sekigawa, and they were doing like consulting stuff. Like they worked on Sticker Star, Color Splash, but they stepped back into like a lead composer role for Origami King, and it really shows. Like each track is like fantastic, and has its own personality. And like, for example, like the main battle theme is great, but then each area you visit has its own like regional variant, which I think really adds a lot of flavor to the game and adds a lot of personality to each world. Because again, RPG themes, they can be great, but you can kind of just like get bored of them after a while. So this one just kept introducing different themes with each chapter, and it just like really made everything like interesting. Yeah, and like the amount of like weird like genres they go with, where there's like heavy metal, there's like there's like some jazz in there.
The disco. How about the dance sequence?
What's up?
That really weird dance sequence?
Yeah, there's a whole like dance, like there's like a club like song and stuff, and like there's just so much like weird, like great music genres that just like they fit so perfectly with the moment that they're in. But it's like when you listen to the whole soundtrack together, it's like, what the hell is this? But they really had a great time with it, and just the sheer range of it is like very, very it's just chef's kiss.
It's good.
It's a good. I just listen to it like all the time now. Like it'll just pop on in the background.
Yeah, no, I feel like Paper Mario music generally doesn't ever do. I mean, I really didn't listen to the what do you call it for Sticker Star and Color Splash as much, but from the little bit I played at Color Splash, it sounded fine.
Yeah, it was good. Like those weren't the bad parts of those games, So.
I mean, what was the bad parts of those early games then?
Oh no, I mean like everything else that we talked about for Sticker Star and Color Splash.
No, I get you.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the music was never the bad part.
So yeah, one thing I want to point out about this is I feel like this game started off surprisingly similar to the original Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that was like homage too.
God, I hope so. I hope it was like ridiculously intentional because God, it was so good. Like, okay, like think about it like shot for shot. Basically, it's like you start with you and your brother. You're going over to Peach's castle to.
You get invited to Peach's castle.
You get invited to Peach's castle. You go over with Luigi. Then you leave Luigi behind to go find Peach, and then you find Peach, and then the difference is like you find Peach and it's like a sweet moment, and then you get that sense of dread because the sky turns dark, right. And then Bowser shows up. But then, like, when you find Peach and Origami King, Peach is like origami and super menacing and like scary, honestly. Like talking weird and talking about like, don't you think Toad should just not exist anymore? And you're like, whoa, what is happening?
You could say yes too.
you can. I think what I said no to every question, but you could say yes to every question and like it would still be the same, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it's just the fact that, like, if you hate Toads, you can just say, oh yeah, let's just kill all the Toads.
You can be super mean about it, which is like that is fun too. Like that's like one of the rare instances where it's like no matter what you do, the same thing will happen, and I'm okay with it.
Right.
But like, and then like you get into this fight, you get into an actual fight in Paper Mario, but the end result is the same. You get your ass beat, and you get sent off into like a woodsy area where you have to start from like basically nothing. And learn how to like play the game and all that. They start off very, very similar. Not like identical, but similar enough to like notice, which is so good. Like again, paying really close attention to like what people wanted in like older games.
Yeah, it really sets the tone really well, and it sets the stakes for the game and introduces, the Origami King and Olivia really well. It was just a really, really strong opening. And I feel like there's some moments where it's just like shot for shot, like very similar to like the first Paper Mario, and it's really nice for them to like pay homage to their roots in that way. So, and like speaking of that, like the overall tone of the game, it's really good because it, it's all like goofy and like funny, and the jokes are really fun, but it really has a lot of like emotional and kind of like scary moments like that. Like the relationship between like Olivia and like her brother is like really, really sweet and like kind of the heart of the game. And like there's just like all of the original the Legion of Stationary characters so they're all like the main bosses, and they're all like things you would use to like make origami, like tape and like colored pencils and scissors and stuff, and they're all like great. And they're all like threatening in their own way. They've all got their own like funny personalities. But yeah, so it's like the game can like really like tug at your heartstrings when it wants to. And yeah, again, I feel like just that, like, because again, like there's been like reports where it's like, Miyamoto really didn't want like story in Sticker Star. Like he was like, just make it a Mario game. Don't put too much story in. That's not what people want. And I'm glad that they kind of just like walked away from that, and they're like, no, we'll just put in like a cool story in the Origami King, So I hope they've because again, they have like the weird rules where it's like, you can't, like, you can make completely brand new Mario characters, but you can't make like variants of existing characters, and like the brand new characters in the game are great. So I hope they learn from that, and they like keep making like cool characters like Olivia and Ollie, and making cool stories like this, because again, it feels like over the years there's like more and more limits to what you can do with the Mario IP, and I feel like they made the best of it. So
they did do a really good job of what they could, which is like kind of a big deal.
Yeah, definitely, because again, like it just felt like they couldn't really do much with all the limits they had and all the characters they couldn't make and stuff, but I think they did a really good job. But I will say, one of my complaints though is, so, alright, they can't make any variation characters. They can only make brand new characters. I get that. Okay, whatever. But they have so many Mario characters that they've just never used in a Paper Mario game that I would just love to see. Like, make like Paper Donkey Kong, like make like Paper Wario and Waluigi.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's like so many like characters and like enemies that they've just never used. So I'm just like, you know what, just use it, you know? Like whatever new character that enters like the Mario mythos or whatever, should be fair game for like Paper Mario. And like what I liked a lot was there were a lot of like side enemies. There were like just random enemies that were from like older Mario games that were here. Like there was like the dinosaur from like Mario World and like the spiders from like New Super Mario Bros. And stuff. Like they were just like random enemies, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You can just do that. You can just use them because they're safe, you know. So
Right.
I feel like there's just a lot more that they could be using instead of just, okay, here's like 50,000 toads, here's like 50 Goombas and Shy Guys. So.
And yeah, like, I don't know. Do you think they have to ask permission to use like specific characters like that? Where they're like, yeah, let's turn Wario and Waluigi into like this duo that we can use. Like Wario and Waluigi would be a great boss in like the Mario and Luigi saga too.
Yeah, I was always mad that they never did that. Like, I was like, they should have done that. Like, if there was like Mario and Luigi, okay, that's the name of the game, cool. And then they're like, okay, what if we put in like Wario? Like, it feels like the game would just write itself, and they just never did that. I feel like they might have to ask permission just to be like, oh, can we use this character? But I feel like if the only rules are like you can't make like variation characters, or you can only use pre-existing characters, or you know, make brand new characters, then I feel like that should be fine. Like, just do it.
Well, if they're actually gonna do
But
it, right?
whatever,
The thing is, it's like they're probably too scared to like step on it, you know?
Yeah, I that's the thing. It's just, again, it's as much of this is like a Nintendo game. Paper Mario is a Nintendo franchise. It's just like annoying, where it's like, okay, we're a spin-off, but we can't really like step on any toes, you know? And it's like, well, then what's the point of like a spin-off, you know? Like, I get like you want to make like a different gameplay experience, but it's like, you know, what's a spin-off if you can't like use the characters that are here and like just make weird scenarios that you want to, you know?
Yeah, and
give
it's important to like remember that like, you know, like what happens in this game does not inherently mean that it will like affect other games. Like if Wario and Waluigi like team up in this game, that doesn't mean that they have like an inherent relationship other than what Nintendo's trying to present, right? This like it's a spin-off. It's a completely different universe.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be a, what do you call it? There doesn't need to be like a, like it can be its own thing just because it's drawing off of the different source material. It's not like the same.
Right. So, yeah. So I just hope that this game and how well it did kind of gives them the courage to be like, okay, maybe we can step a little bit out of the box now. You know, and Nintendo will let us play with a little more like toys in the toy box, so to speak.
We can hope.
So,
we can definitely
we
hope.
can hope. Yeah, licensing and IPs and stuff are weird.
They're always super messy.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think? Do you have anything else you want to touch? Any more notes?
I think that's about it. We pretty much covered everything. So just overall, you know, what are your thoughts, and where do you think the franchise can sort of go from here, and where do you think it will go?
For me, I think that they found success with Origami King, and like it's surprisingly like even if it's just a little positive, it's still more overall positive than Color Splash and Sticker Star.
Definitely.
So I think like knowing that they've struck this chord, they're gonna want to expand on it. So they're gonna look at Origami King and go, okay, how can we turn that into a sequel? And hopefully they're like, okay, well, let's look at what Paper Mario transitioning to. I hate to go back to it constantly, but you kind of need to. If you look at Paper Mario and how it turned into Thousand Year Door, and how to apply that formula to, you know, Origami King, to see like how do you make Origami King the equivalent of Paper Mario 64, and how do you expand on that to make it as good as Thousand Year Door was by comparison. I hope that that's what they do. I hope they look at this and they're like, okay, this did good. What went well that we can expand on?
Right.
Like looking at reviews and being like, okay, people really like the partner aspect, so let's expand partners. People really like the Toad aspect, so we're going to get more clever about how we hide Toads. Or we're going to keep Toad the same because people liked it. My fear is that they're going to try to be too ambitious and like change things up when things are right. Like the Toad, the level of complexity finding Toads in this game is perfect. Like playing through it once casually, you're not going to find every Toad. And then if you go back and you're like, okay, I want to find every Toad, you're still not going to find every Toad unless you really dedicate yourself to it. That level of difficulty is fine. My worry is that
And
they're going to see
there's
that.
a lot of toads.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
there are
there's a
so
lot.
many
You're
toads.
finding a toad like almost like in a new area. You're finding a toad like every like 2 seconds. It's like insane.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? They made it fun. Like it's
Yeah.
the reward system in your brain goes up because it's like I
that-
figured it out
it's
how to
that-
solve this
yeah,
toad.
It's that like collectathon like serotonin rush where it's like, oh, I gotta get all the toads. I got all the toads, you know.
Exactly. So I hope that they maintain that. I hope that they're like, okay, I really like Luigi's aspect in this game. I hate that I don't get to play as Luigi. My hope is that Luigi gets to be a partner in the next one.
Yeah, like use Luigi. Just use Luigi as a partner. Like,
I don't
come
understand
on.
why they're so scared to use Paper Luigi in video games. Like, the reason I like Super Paper Mario more than I probably should have was because I got to play as, like, Paper Luigi. Paper Luigi is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, Paper Luigi's awesome.
And, like, really quick, talking about Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, really quick, they were like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we didn't want to add Paper Luigi because we were like, oh, it might be confusing to control 4 characters. And I'm like, okay, let's just forget about Mario and Luigi Partners in Time where you controlled 2 sets of Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
And it was not a problem at all.
Word.
Like, it
was
really
fine.
wasn't an issue. No one was like, oh, there are too many characters. No.
No, it was fine.
Like, they did a really good job in that game. And also, like, this is just me ranting now. I'm super upset that they skipped Partners in Time and they remade Bowser's Inside Story. And that game flopped so hard. It's the worst selling Mario game. And now they're like, Alpha Dream is dead. Like, what the fuck?
Dude. Okay, so speaking of which, there was another moment. So that's a whole other episode. But we love Mario and Luigi too. I felt so bad for because I've been thinking about Mario and Luigi a lot lately because I didn't play Dream Team, I didn't play the remake for Superstar Saga, and I didn't play the remake for Bowser's Inside Story. I haven't played and I haven't played Paper Jam. I haven't played more than half the franchise, and now it's dead.
Yeah.
You know, like they made 4 3DS games, and most of them sold less and less and less, and Nintendo kind of just kept telling them to make more like games, and it just didn't work. And now the franchise is more or less dead. And the thing that really reminded me of that as well is because there's that one moment in Origami King when you go to the origami workshop, and there's a moment where like Mario and Luigi are there, and Luigi's like, oh, how are we gonna get up to the top of this bookshelf to get something? And Luigi's like, oh, I got an idea, Mario, hit me with your hammer. So he hits Luigi with the hammer, and then Mario jumps on him and then like springs up, and they do like a brothers move from like Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
And
how awesome
do, like,
was
little,
that?
Like, they do like a little like wink to the camera, and they both like do a thumbs up to the camera, and I'm like, come on, like it makes me upset how much I like remember like how much like Mario and Luigi's dead, and it's like,
Yeah, it is an upsetting thing to remember for sure.
it's just a shame.
You know, my hope is that Nintendo looks at, like, because Alpha Dream is dead, Nintendo, like, owns it pretty much exclusively. My hope is that Nintendo's like, all right, we're gonna get this franchise what it needs. We're gonna, like, try to revive it a little bit, try to make it a little more Nintendo-esque as opposed to Alpha Dream-esque. And I hope they don't ruin it in that regard, but, like, if Nintendo takes over, I wouldn't really complain. It would lose Alpha Dream's vision for it, sure, but in the long run, Nintendo knows how to make good games. They just, when they hand off IPs to, like, other, like, technically it's a first party game, but like a third party developed it.
Right. But
like,
I could see them hiring like some Alpha Dream people and being like, you know, come back and like work on this game.
even if you hire someone as small as just like the creative director and like maybe a story writer, like just 2 key people, you'll be fine.
Right.
Because like Nintendo definitely has the power to make. All right, back to Origami King. Sorry.
Anyway.
I really like this game. You want to give it like a rating, or do you want to talk about it a little more?
Yeah, no, I just in general, I agree with you. It's, you know, they did the best with what Paper Mario is now, and they really got like the core aspects of the series that made people like excited about it. And you know, I think they're definitely going in the right direction, and like even if they change, because they want to innovate and whatever, so like I feel like whatever they make the battle system for the next time, they already have all these core pillars that they've just gotten right, and I feel like they're just going to carry it over to the next game, and then whatever battle system they have, they've gotten the core like attributes of it, like A, being fun, B, having it matter to the player, and C, like linking to the other systems of the game. So I have faith that they're gonna make another good game that we will probably enjoy again. So
I hope so.
yeah, I give it an 8 origami folds out of 10.
Amazing. That's a good score. I wanted Paper
It-
Mario to make me feel like Paper Mario.
It made me. It was the Dark Souls of Paper Mario.
It was the Origami King was the Dark Souls of the Paper Mario franchise. No, I really like this game. It made me realize that like there are core aspects of Paper Mario that are still intact, that that are still present in Sticker Star and Color Splash, but just executed poorly. Whereas this game really did a good job of executing them efficiently. So looking at it like
and it
exactly.
really made me.
Wait, it made you what?
Oh no, it really made me like re-examine why I loved Paper Mario all those years ago, and it it may not have been the combat system, it may have been the same format that was back then, but it still has the core aspects that made me really enjoy it. So
Exactly. I think it's one of the more important titles to be on Switch. I feel like it's one of those must-have games. Honestly, it's my rating is going to be a little bit lower than yours. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. That little half point is just because like the tedium of puzzles and the fact that you can like kind of skip them. And it's not the fact that you can skip them. It's the fact that I wanted to skip them towards the end of the game.
Right.
Like where I was like, I don't really need the serotonin that I will get from completing this puzzle. I'll just give like 600 coins to these toads. The toads will figure it out. I'll do the last step, and I'll just use my items. Once I was like, like finishing that marathon is always the last piece, and they gave me kind of a cheat to do it, and I used it. I'm not like I shouldn't take points away from that, but like realistically, the game is the reason that I did that. Like the fact that they just made puzzles a little bit tedious because of a lack of variety within them.
Right, and like I said before, that's by design, because you can only get so many ideas out of the system before it's like done, and I feel like it didn't overstay its welcome, and that's why I'm more than happy for whatever they change the battle system to next time, because I know they want to change it. So as long as they've figured out how to make a good battle system, so
let's hope that they actually keep it. That's our hope for the future.
That's what I hope. But yeah. So I think that's I think that'll fold up our Origami King review.
Final scores: we got an 8 out of 10 from Spencer and a 7.5 out of 10 from your boy.
Yep, that's what I rated.
Sick. Yeah. All right.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. Really
thanks for
appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next 6 years or so when the next Paper Mario game comes out.
Yeah, give or take. This is going to be its own section. It's not going to be a Discord discussion. It's going to be a review series. I got to think of a clever name for it.
I don't know.
Rolling reviews? We'll brainstorm something.
Rad reviews.
Rad reviews. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. Say bye.
Bye. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the first episode of our new review series here on the Oddcast podcast. Raving Reviews. What a name, right? If you enjoyed that and you want to see more of our stuff, feel free to visit our link tree. That's linktr.ee/oddhour in any browser. We have a Twitch channel, a YouTube channel, and a Discord server that you're more than welcome to join. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.